Oh boy, this will be an interesting experience. So, I actually got the idea for this video like way before the whole coronavirus thing happened, so it's not just a spur-of-the-moment video. Yeah, you remember that whole crazy coronavirus scare where everybody rushed to the stores, not for tissues or medicine or soup? No. That would be crazy. Because like in any survival situation, you definitely don't want to go for non-perishable food and medical supplies. Nope. Instead, the general public went for the only reasonable option. Toilet paper. This inconvenienced the hell out of me. I mean, seriously. I had to wipe my ass with a washcloth for I swear like a week. Not only did they stock up on a shitload of toilet paper, pun intended, I genuinely saw people go for like 10 gallons of milk. You know, milk, the food item that most definitely does not go bad. I mean, seriously. Do they not know that milk spoils? That's like common sense. You cannot tell me for 1 minute that one family is going to drink 10 gallons of milk in 2 weeks. I'm sorry about that. I get so fired up about stupidity. As I was saying, me reminding you of all this is, assuming that all of humanity, or at least all of the boomers, aren't dead by the time you're watching this, which I'm assuming they won't be, but who knows? Anything can happen. It's 2020. Anyway, since we seem to have boomers on our mind lately, let's talk about what would happen if every single one of them died at this exact second. Because that seems like a question everyone in my generation wants answered. Let's hope that everyone watching knows what a baby boomer is, but assuming that you don't, a baby boomer is any US citizen that was born from 1946 to 1964. They're generally recognized as the generation that messed up the housing market, the economy, social security, actively complains about the use of technology, uses Facebook, and has traditional values that apparently mean that people aren't allowed to be happy or have autonomy. While I may be a bit biased in that description, if you ask any Gen Z to describe what the boomers did/do wrong currently, I guarantee they'll give you a similar response. Something important to note is that this generational span of time only accounts for US citizens, not for people around the world. As well, we're going to assume that these boomers mysteriously die, in which scientists are not interested in looking further into the issue. Which, sounds a bit odd, because, that's their job. I mean, scientists not sciencing is a bigger mystery than this boomer death itself, but, let's touch on that later. Okay, I lied. We're not going to touch on that later. The first thing that would happen would naturally be a national panic. After all, every boomer dying in the span of 1 second would be extremely scary. Okay, picture this. Imagine you're just chilling at home with grandma and grandpa. You're sipping some lemonade when all of a sudden, boom! They just drop to the floor. I mean, that would be seriously scary. 911 lines would be flooded. People would rush to the streets. Tears would flow from every individual's eyes, creating a river of sadness. Okay. Maybe not that one, but people would seriously be sad. I mean, not only would we be crying for our grandparents or parents, depending on how old you are, we would also be seeing the loss of many loved actors and musicians. To list a few, we would lose Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray, Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, John Bon Jovi, Kevin Spacey. Hang on, scratch Kevin Spacey from that list, no one would care. These boomers equate to 1% of the global population and 26% of the US population, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that 1% is equivalent to 85,358,000 people. Let me put it into perspective how insane a mass death like this would be. World War II is known as the deadliest war this Earth has ever seen, resulting in the death of 75 million people. The Great Boomer Death of 2020, by the way, that's what I'm calling this event, surpasses even this casualty count. But Video Man, I hear you asking, what does all this mean? Well, my dear viewer, let me answer that question. For starters, the death of 85 million people means that all the money they invested in Social Security is going straight back to the government or to their next of kin. This means that there's more money in Social Security for younger generations. Unfortunately for me, I am highly uneducated on the topic of Social Security because the public education system sucks. Unfortunately for you, I am far too lazy to spend time researching a topic such as Social Security, so we'll just leave it at that and move on. What this mass death also means is that more homes are going to be available. A study done by the University of California, Berkeley states that in the year 2010, 42% of all homeowners were boomers, which means that 42% of all homeowners are dead now. This ultimately means that the price of houses are going to drastically decrease. Hey guys, just wanted to give a quick, visual representation as to what exactly would happen to the price of housing, after all the boomers died. So, as you can see here, this is currently the price of the housing market, right? And then or the price of the houses, and after all the boomers die, this is what happens. It literally tanks. You can't get housing prices lower than that right there, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what would happen to the price. Oh shit. Are these permanent markers? Hopefully that visual helped, but some economists predict that as more boomers begin to die off, millennials and Gen Zs are not going to be able to meet the mass demand of housing. In the case of the great boomer death of 2020, the current generational population most definitely will not be able to meet the supply of vacant houses. This unfortunately means that many houses remain vacant and uncared for, but this also means that houses are cheap. Trump is dead. Much like what we saw during March, the US would definitely see a stock market crash and many jobs would be opened. This sounds like a good thing, but in reality it's kind of a scary thing. We would see food shortages, supply shortages, possibly a depression, honestly, who knows? My main reasoning for this is that even though a majority of boomers are retired right now, it is estimated that around 45% of all boomers are still working. Since a fair amount of the workforce is gone, jobs will most definitely open up. It's hard to say whether or not the population would be able to fill those positions. I don't believe the jobs that these boomers hold are too technical and would require too much training to fill, but that's purely speculation. As goes for the stock market crash, the boomers' children can decide whether or not to sell the recently acquired stock. If every inheritor flocks to Wall Street to sell the stock, then we may see a problem. However, that probably won't happen since the general population isn't that stupid, right? Right? I genuinely saw people go for like 10 gallons of milk. Milk, the food item that most definitely does not go bad. Okay, that might actually be a concern now that I think about it. What we've seen with the whole mass milk buying, the general population might actually be that stupid. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say a stock market crash is possible. Okay, so let's actually talk about the political impact. Since I always hear complaints about boomer politics, I think it's pretty important to actually talk about it. So for starters, I'd say a majority of Congress would be dead. When added up, there are 76 members of the Senate that are considered baby boomers and 147 representatives that are above the age of 65. This would put a large amount of stress on the US political system because we would have to scramble by to get new political representation. Not to mention that a majority of our executive branch would be dead too. As previously stated, Donald Trump would be dead. This is a good or bad thing depending on your political belief, but regardless, the next in line would be Mike Pence, who would also be dead. Then, to take their places, Nancy Pelosi would be sworn in as the first woman president of the United States. This is miraculous because Nancy Pelosi is 80 years old as of right now. She doesn't even qualify to be a boomer. She's so goddamn old that she would survive the boomer plague. Honestly, this is quite a good thing, political parties aside. She would actually survive to take office and fix whatever mess is going on with the deaths of Congress. She'd probably sign some emergency bill to allow an election to take place early to replace the dead members of Congress. She probably wouldn't make one to replace herself because she'd probably be happy that she's president, but, whatever. As well, something would also get signed to allow the federal government more access to state regulations since a lot of the state electives would be dead too, and they'd have to have emergency elections, This wouldn't be good for America because they'd likely use this as an opportunity to remain in control of state rights, but that's like seriously a hot take on this situation, and I think it's a little too political for what I'm going for. Regardless though, some whack stuff would happen in politics, to say the least. So, what can we learn about this whole experiment, if that's what we're going to call it? Is it that the world would really be a better place without the boomers? Is it that the boomers have too much control now and that we need to overthrow them? Maybe it's that we need to respect our elderly a bit more, because we're going to want to be written in their wills and take control of the political and economic system. It possibly could be that, we need to keep in mind how much toilet paper we're buying, because we're one quarantine away from having to wipe our ass with washcloths again. But man, I don't know, there's too many options. But whatever that conclusion may be, I'm going to leave you all to come up with your own decisions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. Whoa, you made it to the end! This video took me, dare I say, months to accomplish, so I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button, subscribe button, and maybe the bell. I try to post content regularly. This video is a bit different than some of my other videos, but I'd like to think that the quality is the same across my channel. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Okay, it's childish, can't be no homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coke up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it, I'll do either. I love pussy, I love bitches, dude, I should be running.